All right, all right, all right. Welcome in, everybody. Show number 301. Kyle Farmer coming up in a little bit of the Colorado Rockies. We'll get to some Rocky stuff and some CU Buff stuff in a moment, but want to thank my sponsors. Got my quarter zip going. The Mannings would be proud of me. Huntington Bank. They're awesome. They're terrific. I've been telling you about them since the start of the year. They're around the corner from you. They're a neighborhood bank, and they're going to take care of all of your needs. And we're presented by Huntington Bank proudly, where banking just clicks. Try asterisk free checking with no monthly maintenance fee, no matter what. So, Colorado, it's your money. Keep more of it. Make the switch today at Huntington Bank /your money. You'll be glad you did. Also, my friends at Steel, S-T-I-H-L, steelusa.com. It's that time of year. It's always a good time of year to be involved with Steel products. They have every tool imaginable to make your lawn, to make your backyard, to make your property, to make your camping trip outstanding. Chainsaws and blowers and mowers and trimmers and hedge trimmers. They got everything. So just go and check them out. It's steelusa.com, S-T-I-H-L. And I got my orange underneath to represent Steel. All right, let's get going. The Rockies are off to an abysmal start. That is an understatement. It's an embarrassing start. There's no mincing words. There's no other way to spin it. And I think everyone in the organization feels it. 3-15. The poorest start in franchise history, and it feels that way. I mean, sometimes you can have a bad week and you go 1-5 and you feel like, man, it seemed like they were in all the games. It hasn't had that feel. They haven't really done any aspect of the game of baseball well or consistently well. I think the first week of the season, the starting rotation got off to a very nice start, but the Rockies didn't hit, and therefore they won just one time, and that was down in Tampa in Game 2. Overall, their starting pitching has regressed. The bullpen has been better of late, got off to a horrendous start, even defensively, which I think at the end of the year, we'll look back and say, hey, this is a pretty good defensive team. But defensively, they haven't played well. Second most errors in baseball through the first 3 weeks of the season. And offensively, it's been atrocious. And it's not just been this year. This has been ongoing for several years. The Rockies strike out at an alarming rate. They chase at an alarming rate, so therefore they don't walk at a high rate. And you understand the modern game. There are more strikeouts. The strikeout rate, because of the quality of the pitchers, is higher than it's ever been. But if you strike out at a high rate because you're trying to punish the baseball, everything's about exit velocity now and launch angle, you have to hit homers. And at least in the early going, the Rockies have not hit homers. And last year they were not even middle of the pack in home runs. They were below midway in home runs. That has to change. And I understand they're breaking in a number of young players or several young players. And that's a good thing, because ultimately, to get this ship turned around, it's going to be about the next generation. And sometimes it's painful to watch. Right now, for Zach Veen, he's overmatched, and he has to make adjustments. He keeps chasing high fastballs up in the zone, and he can't catch up because of the length of his swing. I will point this out. Jordan Beck went through the same thing, by the way. The jump from AA and or AAA, because sometimes guys come right from AA, the jump is larger than it has ever been in the history of the game. And that's not just me as a broadcaster saying that through observation. It is spending every day talking to people in professional baseball, people at the minor league level, and longtime evaluators, scouts, general managers, coaches at the big league level, and seeing what they're watching. You can see guys tear the cover off the ball at the minor league level, and that earns them a right to get to the big leagues. But then there's an adjustment. I mean, I was thinking, when was the last time we saw a young player come up for the Rockies and have immediate success? Brent Doyle didn't, and big tip of the cap to him. He's made extraordinary strides offensively, and I think he's going to be a big-time star. Ezekiel Tovar is making strides in cutting down his chase rate. We know what he did last year offensively, in particular, with 75 plus extra base hits. It's extraordinary. 26 home runs, led the league in doubles with 45. But he struck out, nearly 200 times. That has to diminish. But I was thinking, when was the last time somebody came up and made an immediate big time offensive impact? And you probably have to go back to when Trevor Story, was doing his thing against Zach Greinke on opening day some years ago against Arizona, and he not only stopped the presses in Colorado, but around the baseball world. Who's this kid tearing the cover off the ball early in his career? It just seems like the guys that, and it's not just the Rockies, but the guys that they've brought up in particular have really struggled. And it's a process, but right now it is big time painful. And you got to change some things. And so the Rockies went out and they changed hitting coaches during the off day. And I come to you on this Friday. We're taping. Tonight's game actually was canceled because of the snow and the cold weather. So Bam Bam Meulens, Hensley Meulens, Bam Bam as he's known, good hitting coach. He's been a good hitting coach. And people say, what Goodman, you just party line. What are you talking about? The Rockies have been awful offensively. How can you call him a good hitting coach? Because I will tell you today, tomorrow, a week from tomorrow, a year from tomorrow, 5 years from tomorrow, coaches matter, but only to a certain degree. Guys didn't just fall off a turnip truck and end up in the big leagues. They earned their way here offensively. It's not like they get to the big leagues and then the hitting coach kind of molds them and creates a new version of who they were. They make suggestions. They work on certain things. When a guy's failing, they certainly make certain suggestions. But you're not going to take, you've heard me say this before, you're not going to take a free swinger like an Ezekiel Tovar. Can you diminish his chase rate some? Absolutely. It's going to come from that guy ultimately. Don't forget that. It's going to come from the guy. But you're not going to make him Juan Soto all of a sudden. It's part of their DNA and how they arrive. So I understand why Bam Bam lost his job. And you do have to shake some things up. I believe that. When things are this bad, you do have to shake some things up. So Clint Hurdle's back in the fold. Clint's history, even though most people now, especially young people, remember him as a manager, certainly the Rockies back in 2007, but he had a great run with the Pittsburgh Pirates. But Clint's, origin in the game as a coach was as an outstanding hitting coach. That's what he was with the Rockies early on, and he was as shocked as anyone. He's told this story many times. He told it, in the book I did. He told it on this podcast before, that when he was called by Dan O'Dowd and asked to become the manager, he was the hitting coach, not the bench coach. He thought he was getting fired. Things were not going well. But I tell that story as an aside because Clint's background is as a hitting coach. So it'll be a new voice. And I understand why the Rockies did that. And when things are going well, I'll reiterate, you got to shake things up. You got to change things. But at the end of the day, it's about the players who play. It really is. You can criticize Bud Black all you want. Bud Black didn't become stupid overnight. He's the same guy in 17 and 18 that was on the top step of the dugout when the Rockies had success and reached the postseason. It's always going to be, especially in baseball, about the players. Football coaches can affect the bottom line in wins and losses more than any other head coach or / manager in sports. Take the Nuggets, for instance. Mike Malone didn't become stupid overnight. Won a championship, as we all know, a couple of years ago. Now, perhaps they had started to tune him out, and that's why the Cronkies made the move they did. And I understand that. I talked about it last week on the program. But it's ultimately always about the guys who are playing and how they play. The Rockies are short on talent right now. Hopefully some of this young talent develops, and 2, 3, 4 months from now, we're saying, man, what a change we're seeing with Zach Veen. He's really figured it out at the big league level based on the early returns. Same thing when Jordan Beck ultimately gets back to the big leagues. Hunter Goodman, great first week. Next couple of weeks, rough, starting to show signs of not chasing as much, and he's put the ball in play with authority. At least he did, in Los Angeles, hit a home run there. I mean, baseball's tough. Hitting's tough. Never been tougher. But things have to change. I mean, 3-15, even coming off 100-loss seasons. I believed strongly at the start of the season that the Rockies would make a solid step in the right direction. There's a long, long way to go, but this was not the start that anyone saw coming. I mean, maybe I'm wrong in that regard. Maybe nationally people say, yep, the Rockies are going to be one of the 2 worst teams in baseball with the White Sox, and that's why the numbers in Vegas were what they were. I thought they had a chance to be better. I still hope they do, but this start, is rough. Now it's up to the players and to turn this thing around and start to consistently play better in all areas than they have. So that's where things are right now with the Rockies as they get ready to take on the Nationals this weekend, again, as we tape it today. And then they'll be in Kansas City for 3 and then back home for 6. All right, segueing to college football. The Buffs, the CU Buffs, they never seem to be too far removed from the headlines. And the headlines during the spring practice period came a few days ago when it was announced that Colorado would be retiring numbers 2 and 12, Shedeur Sanders' number and Travis Hunter's number. And it would be done during the spring game, the upcoming spring game. So I know I'm late to the party because I tape my podcast when I tape my podcast. First and foremost, a lot of former Buff greats on the football field are upset. I think there's unanimity with that group in terms of being upset with how quickly this has taken place, and more specifically, as Dion pointed out, the controversy seems to surround number 2, his son Shedeur's number being retired. So let me attack this. I'm going to throw some numbers at you during this diatribe I go on. I was very, very surprised. I will also say, at the end of the day, it doesn't friggin' matter. Right? I mean, most topics in sports, in the grand scheme of things, don't matter. But lovers of sport debate, get on their soapbox periodically when something bothers them or even enrages them. I'm not enraged. I am bothered. And so I'll get on my soapbox. Colorado has played football for 137 years. Currently, they have 4 numbers retired. 4. And if you've done some reading, you know who those 4 are. You go all the way back. Byron Whizzer White, who became a Supreme Court justice, played in the 30s. His number was retired. Joe Romick, who went on to become a Rhodes Scholar, his number was retired. And then, you move forward, and most recently, Bobby Anderson in the Bobby, who was known as Bullet. I know Bobby, great Buff in the 60s. His number was retired. By the way, his brothers was not. Dick Anderson was a first-team All-American, had a great NFL career with the Miami Dolphins. Part of the 72 only unbeaten team in the history of the NFL. His number's not been retired. The only other Buff, and it took, 19 years, 17 years? I think it was 17 years. And it was posthumous. Rashaan Salaam, who won the Heisman Trophy. And I will say this, if you win the Heisman Trophy, your number should be retired at that university. And usually there's a period of time that one waits. And I don't think that's inappropriate. Number 12 should be retired. Travis Hunter And there's more awards, by the way, than ever before. There's so many different awards one can win. So if you say, well, he won every award, he did win every award, and he's one of one with what he's done in the modern game, playing at the level he did as a wideout, as the level he did as a cornerback, a first-team All-American on both sides, Heisman Trophy winner, slam dunk. He should have his number retired one day. Does it have to happen like 3 weeks after he played his last game? And I exaggerate only slightly, but that's not the issue here. It is Shedeur Sanders. And Shedeur was a marvelous quarterback for 2 years on a team that has, turned some things around. Now, that first year with Prime coming in and every pregame show in America, College Game Day was there. We know Fox's noon kickoff was there on a couple of occasions, I think back-to-back weeks. It's crazy. And the attention was wonderful. And they got off to the fabulous start, and they finished 4-8 their first year. The next year, better, much better. They end up winning 9 football games. They unfortunately got blown out in the Alamo Bowl. He was 13-12 as a starting quarterback. He was a first-team All-American. This is not to diminish or degrade anything that he did on the football field. It's to remind people who made this decision, and whether it was pushed by Deion Sanders, I have no idea. Again, 4 numbers retired. I keep thinking about this, and I don't think Shedeur's number should be retired when you have people like Darian Hagan, who did turn that program around at the time. He was he was the centerpiece for Bill McCartney. And after the lean years of Chuck Fairbanks and the early years of Bill McCartney, he turned that thing around. Not single-handedly. There were a lot of other good players, a lot of other great players. I'm going to read you a list of guys that have achieved All-American status or multiple All-American statuses with the Buffs. You want to go way back? Carroll Hardy was a 2-time All-American with the Buffs in the 50s. John Wooten was an All-American on a couple of occasions, and then went on to block for the great Jim Brown in the NFL. And Jim Brown singled him out when he was being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and saying John Wooten, was like the best lineman he ever had. Bud Magram, probably don't know that name. Charles Davis, running back, a couple All-American teams. Don Hasselback, who we just lost earlier this week. Maybe more famous now, for folks who didn't know, because he spawned 2 quarterbacks who played in the NFL, and you hear him on television quite a bit. Don Hasselback was a 2-time All-American tight end at CU, and a really good NFL career as well. His number's not retired. Mark Haynes, one of the best cornerbacks in college football in his day, was a first-round pick of the New York Giants. John Embry, couple All-American teams, went on to coach the Buffs. I know things didn't go great when he was a coach, but this is a great Buff. Mickey Pruitt, remember Mickey Pruitt? He was a great safety, couple-time All-American. Canavis McGee made 3 different All-American teams. 3 different All-American teams. His number's not retired. He was part of the national championship run. Good friend of mine, guy you all love, Big Al, Alfred Williams, won the Butkus Award. Couple-time All-American. First-round pick. Hell of an NFL career. His number's not retired. Eric Bieniemy, his number's not retired. 4 touchdowns in the inclement weather to beat Nebraska, all in the 4th quarter up in Lincoln. Remember that? As the Buffs made their way to a national championship. Joe Garton, one of the best offensive linemen the Buffs have ever had, 2-time All-American. I'm going to leave names out, like Jay Leuenberg, but I threw it out there. Michael Westbrook? You kidding me? Michael Westbrook? Deion Figures, war number 2. Deion Figures won the Thorpe Award He won another award. I'm trying to remember which award that was, as the premier defensive back in the country. Chris Hudson, great cornerback. We want to talk about quarterbacks? How about Cordell Stewart in addition to Darian Hagan? They did a whole lot of winning also. Cordell Stewart, and we hear from Prime all the time talking about, we want guys going to the NFL. That's why we have, an all NFL coaching staff virtually, and we have Hall of Famers from the NFL. And it's like he kicked you out of the room if you're not part of the NFL. Cordell Stewart was a heck of an NFL quarterback. Won a lot of football games for the Buffs. One of their most dramatic wins in program history, the Hail Mary at Michigan. Remember that? Chad Brown, another friend. Chad Brown had a marvelous NFL career, was a great Buff, and that's why they've all sounded off. Not that they don't support their university, not that they're thrilled that Colorado's relevant again. It's almost as if Deion has forgotten or has not learned the fact that this program, though it was downtrodden, has a very strong history on the gridiron at different periods of time. 19 times before Deion arrived, they finished in the nation's top 25 at the end of the season. And you go back, think about the period between 1989 and 1996. 5 times in that period of time, they finished the year. That means after the bowl games, in the AP top 8 in the country. And of course, they won a national title in 1990. In 1989, during the regular season, they were number 1 in the country at one point. And then, of course, they won it all the next year, as we were talking about. They've won 19 conference titles. They haven't won a conference title, by the way, the last couple of years. My point is, this is premature. I have no issue with 12 one day. I mean, Rashaan Salam won the Heisman Trophy. He had to wait, and unfortunately was not with us. He had to wait almost 2 decades. Maybe too long, and you can make that argument, certainly. Shedeur Sanders, no issue with what he did on the field. Had a really good 2 years. They went 13-12. Why is his number being retired? And why is it being retired literally weeks after these 2 young men finished their college career? So in the grand scheme of things, I'm on my soapbox. At the end of the day, am I going to lose sleep over it? Hell no. But if I'm any of this long list of guys that I mentioned, I left some folks out too, Tom Ruin and Mason Crosby, Barry Helton, a lot of guys who are All-Americans, and their numbers not retired. I also thought about this, especially when I was covering the Broncos on a regular basis. I used to look up there at the Ring of Fame, and what a great honor. And a lot of professional teams do that. And you look at some of the earlier names, and I'm not going to single them out by any stretch, but it's like the Broncos were new, and so they wanted to, force feed their fandom tradition. And in some cases, quite frankly, I think it was premature. So there's some names up there that maybe you go, okay, nice little time with the Broncos, made an impact, but really an all-timer, but it was early. And in the case of Shedeur, he was an All-American this year. We'll find out next week if he's a first-round pick. It looks like he will be. And I wish him nothing but the best. This is not a personal thing. I don't know Shedeur Sanders. But I do think with Deion Sanders, he seems to be oblivious to the fact that this program does have a storied history, that it didn't just start up again when he took over. And that's why a lot of ex-Buffs and a lot of great ex-Buffs are pissed off, and I get that. I left off Matt Russell. How about Matt Russell? He won a Butkus Award. Daniel Graham, best tight end in college football in his time. Nate Solder. There's more on this list, and for those that I didn't mention, I apologize. But anyhow, done with that for right now. By the way, the Buffs, no, I'm not done with that. The Buffs have 40 jerseys that they honor from all sports. And you can see some of those jerseys up at the CU Event Center. There are other areas that they're displayed. In fact, outside the press box at Folsom Field. So there's ways of honoring guys like Shedeur Sanders. And also some of those 4 numbers that were retired, from what I understand, some of them have been put back in play by Coach Prime. That doesn't feel right. So maybe now I'm done. I want to segue to the Avs before we talk to Kyle Farmer here. The Avs get going. I am so excited. Tomorrow down in Dallas. They've known for weeks they're going to play the Stars in the opening round. And it looks like Gabriel Landeskog will be back. The one thing I'm interested in seeing, Kyle Keefe was on, did a marvelous job with us last week. And Kiefer has his ear to the ground, knows everything about the Avs, obviously, backwards and forwards and behind the scenes. I've heard this thing that Kyle mentioned that I'm going to mention here in a second from somebody else as well, that the Avs were thinking about holding Landy back to Game 3 and making a huge splash when the Avs are home for the first time in that first round against the Stars. And, they'll blow the roof off Ball Arena when he, comes out. If you believe as an organization that Gabriel Landeskog is one of your top 12 forwards right now and gives you the best opportunity to win hockey games, postseason hockey games, he better be in the lineup in Game 1 in Dallas. The Avalanche fans will still blow the hell off the roof in Game 3 when he comes out, because everyone loves the Avalanche captain. Everyone's missed the Avalanche captain the last 3 years. But when we watch on television Saturday night and Monday night, games 1 and 2 down in Big D, you want to see the best players on the ice. And if Landy, you believe, played a couple games with the Eagles, can be that guy, one of those guys, he needs to play in Game 1. It's going to be a great reaction in Game 3. I wanted to get that off my chest. Best of luck to the Avalanche. And with that, we segue to this week's guest, Kyle Farmer. Kyle's been a big leaguer for a while, and it's been not a typical journey. He was an 8th round pick out of the University of Georgia, so he wasn't one of these number 1 picks, and stardom was predicted for him. He had to grind his way through the minor leagues. Played a couple of years with the Dodgers. I think he'd gotten 59 games over 2 years with the Dodgers. Went on to the Twins and started to have an impact there. Also went to the Reds, and now he finds himself with the Colorado Rockies. And so far this year, through 3 weeks, he's given the Rockies day in and day out their best at bats. He's given them really nice production so far. And he wasn't even scheduled to start, to be honest with you. He was going to be that super utility infielder and be able to give McMahon a day off, Tovar a day off, Tyro Estrada some time off. But, of course, Estrada got hit in the wrist late in spring training. He has a broken wrist, and he hasn't played yet. So Kyle Farmer's playing virtually every day at second, and he has been an outstanding player on both sides. Makes some great defensive plays. And offensively, when he comes up, typically on a team that strikes out so much, the ball's going to be in play, and he's going to give you a really high quality at bat. I used to say that all the time about Charlie Blackmon, even last year. Charlie, our guest last week, that Charlie, even late in his career, was going to give you a high quality at bat. That's what the Rockies are getting now from Kyle Farmer. He's an interesting guy. He's a good guy. He has a great story. So without further ado, here's Kyle Farmer. All right, so you're a Georgia boy, and as we tape this thing, Kyle, on a Friday, it's snowing out. The first homestand, I think it snowed quite a bit. You played in Minnesota. It's your fault, dude.
Yeah, I brought it with us. Yeah, it's freezing out there. It's kind of bizarre. I mean, it was when we left, it was sunny and nice, and now it's ridiculously snowing outside.
Yeah, it's cool. I assume you're not upset that tonight, again, as we tape on a Friday night, game canceled. You'll play one tomorrow and then two on Sunday. It's got to be super hard to play when it's 35 degrees.
Yeah, it's hard to hit, but it's even harder on defense catching those ground balls and trying to throw. I mean, your throws you don't even know where they're going because your fingers are you can't even feel them. It's tough, very hard.
Yeah, it's got to be tough to pitch also when, especially as you know now playing at altitude a little bit. The baseball, because there's no humidity, is slick to begin with, and then if it's cold, it's got to make it a nightmare.
Yeah, it is. It's hopefully the weather will turn, but it's yeah, balls don't go the way they're supposed to go.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the news of the day. Obviously, it's your first year with the Rockies. You're off to a terrific start, but overall, this is not where anyone wanted to be. Before we talk about Clint Hurdle taking over for Bam Bam, as a competitor, and you've always had a reputation as a great teammate. Um, tell me what's going through your mind and what this the first few weeks have been like.
I start off. I really like Bam Bam. He was awesome. He was the first kind of hitting coach that I've had that kind of let me kind of do my thing. He trusted what I was telling the guys and kind of doing what made me good. And we talked a lot this off season, and we talked about approach, and he loved it. And so me and him kind of hit it off well. I was kind of upset to see him go, but played against Clint Hurdle when he was with the Pirate, managing the Pirates. He managed a good team, managed good teams over there. So we'll see what he has to do the hitting side of it. But rough 2 weeks for sure. Just got a lot of young guys who are still trying to find their way and find their identity as players. It's hard. Baseball's a hard game, especially when you're young and in the big leagues facing like the Dodgers who have been around. And they're most of their guys on that roster have years in the big league. So it's two polar opposite teams. Skill set wise, very similar in a way, but service time, which goes a long way, is very different.
Kyle, do you think it's a bigger jump now? And you've been at this for a while, as a guy in your mid 30s. Do you think it's tougher now to make the transition offensively from Double A or Triple A than it was even a decade ago?
Yeah, I think so. I've heard that from multiple sources that the pitching in the minor leagues is not the same as it used to be. You look at the guys in the big leagues, they're all young. I mean, they're all 23, 24-year olds. And when I was in the minor leagues, those guys were in Double A at the time. And the big leagues was a league meant for older veteran players, guys who are 22 and 23. And now the whole league, and so I think that the pitching is definitely different. Double A, Triple A gets you when I was ready for the big leagues, and now it seems as though like you got to learn the big leagues. It's hard. It's very hard.
Yeah. You're off to a terrific start, and it's always fascinating to talk hitting with somebody that's new to Coors Field and altitude, and you've heard it because again, you played for the Dodgers and you've played here. It's hard on the body, and then the pitch movement thing when you're at altitude, balls, the two seamer maybe not as sharp, slider, breaking ball, and then all of a sudden you're
Right.
at sea level. You seemingly have not been early on affected by that. What are you seeing, and what can you articulate based on just a few weeks of doing it, where your full time home is at altitude?
Sure. I'm a big believer in your approach kind of takes over your mechanics. If your approach is good, you have a good approach at the plate where you want to hit the ball. Your mechanics kind of take over what it should do. I have noticed a little bit of difference with the pitching compared to like when we went to San Diego or Philadelphia, something like that. There's a slight difference. I mean, we also faced Zach Wheeler and a bunch of guys in Philly that were disgusting. Cy Young, should win the Cy Young this year, and then we go out to San Diego and face guys that are really good. So we face some good pitching, but the I'm a big believer in, man, it doesn't really matter where you play as long as you have a good approach, and the weather definitely dictates it, but everybody's got to play, everybody's throwing, and so I'm just big. If you have a good approach, everything should be okay.
Are you able to impart some of that? And also, how much is the DNA of a player? In other words, if you got a guy that got to the big leagues being, a free swinger and maybe having a longer swing and maybe punching out some, but doing damage. And that's how they got here. And then trying to say, hey, now you got to really shorten up and you got to be, I don't want to say a grand departure from who you are, but you got to change some things because these guys are the best in the world at throwing a baseball, hitting spots, and being nasty.
Yeah. Yeah. Prime example, Zach Veen right now. I think the league figured him out pretty quickly with the fastball up, where he can't really touch it. I saw it the first night that he made his debut. You guys were just challenging him. Hey, man, here's my fastball. Let's see if you can hit it. And that's how the league started. You have to prove to them that you can hit your fastball. And I've been working with Zach a little bit on, he's got a very uphill swing, hits the ball well down in the zone. But when they start throwing him up in the zone, that swing just doesn't play. And so our first 2 rounds of batting practice, I told him, I said, man, hit that ball to the 6 hole every time. Top of the baseball and I want you to hit a ground ball to the 6 hole. Because they're challenging you. They're showing you what they're giving you. I mean, just look at your past at bats, and to give him credit, he's been very open about it, which is awesome. And that takes the first thing is to be open about it, because when I got to the leagues, I was exposed as well, and it takes a lot of humility. You have to make a change, and I got with Justin Turner, and he helped me out, and so now I'm hopefully help Zach out to figure out what he can do.
Yeah, it's not easy, and it's amazing because I always say this. First of all, I have great respect for all of you guys to get there. You're the best in the world at what you do, but it's so humbling. The game, for we all know, for the best of the best, you fail 7 out of 10 times. I don't even like that term. You don't succeed 7 out of 10
Yeah.
times. You're using the term failure. But it can be humbling for a kid who comes up and he's always had success, and then, man, I can't even put the bat on the ball. That's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, you have all of this pressure behind you of doing well. You're a first round pick or whoever you are. You get called at the big leagues and you're expected to produce, and then when you don't, you get buried. I mean, it's just you get just demolished. And I think I always said that I play with a lot of really good players in the minor leagues, a lot better than me, but the mentally tough people stick around the longest. If you're mentally tough in this game, you will stick around. And if you learn from your failures rather than pout in them or just kind of succumb to your failures, then you'll be successful. And it's all mental, man. The baseball is such a mental game, and that's why I'm trying to preach to these guys with the Rockies. I told Bouchard, I've gotten really close with him, and I said, man, if I can do it, anybody can do it, because I'm probably the least talented person to get to the big leagues, but I've learned to mentally overcome a lot of things, overcome people, and I said, man, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Trust me. And he was like, you've been here so long? I was like, I don't know, man. I just keep going year by year and just keep pulling people. But it's all mental. It's like you got to be mentally tough, and you got to beat those demons.
Yeah, and everything you do, man, and baseball teaches you that. It's there's a lot of parallels to life from baseball. It's wild.
Oh,
You
for
told
sure.
me around the cage recently. You said, "Shoot, man, I didn't." Last year you had some good years with the Twins, and then last year maybe not the year you wanted to have, and you were concerned maybe if you'd have a job this year if it was time to go home, huh?
Yeah, I was a lot last year. We just had our second kid. That was a lot. Spring training was tough. Came in kind of out of moved to a new place in Valdosta, Georgia, and so I had a lot of stuff going on, and baseball wasn't really on the top priority for me. And I learned a lot from that year, and I'm very thankful that the Rockies gave me the opportunity, and Schmitty and Bud just giving me a shot, and very thankful for that. And so, yeah, last year was probably the worst year of my baseball career, and I was sitting at home not thinking I was ever going to play again.
You're a good guy. You're a great guy actually to ask this because you came up with the Dodgers. The Dodgers have always been, uber talented, at least certainly over the last dozen years or
Mhm.
so. You go to Minnesota. Minnesota, Kyle's always intrigued me because they always, similar mid market, if you will, mid revenue market, kind of like Denver is. Yet they always find ways to be competitive. And we've had, when I say we, the Rockies have had some guys come from Minnesota, some big time guys, Michael Kadire, Justin Morneau,
Yeah.
LaTroy Hawkins. And I always call them, and you fall in this category, and I say this with great respect. You're adults. You've been in the game a while. You've always conducted yourself well. You guys always seem like winners. What is it about Minnesota that it breeds this kind of guy, and ultimately at the end of the season you guys are right there?
Ooh, that's a tough question. That's a good question. Tough to answer. It's kind of like that. This AL Central's just a grind of a division. You get the Royals, the Tigers. Um, Everybody's there just like they beat up on each other, and you the strong survive. And I think the Twins, Thad does a great job over there putting a team together. Rocco does a great job of managing his team, and but they are honestly probably the most analytical team that I've played for, including the Dodgers. They get down to the nuts and bolts of just what you do well, and they avoid what you do poorly. Like they magnify everything that you do good, and they put you in those situations that kind of bring the best out of you, and they avoid the bad. Like when I was there, all I faced was left-handed pitching because that's what I do well. So, and I knew that, so I just kind of accepted my role and did it. And so I think it taught me a lot. To be honest with you, it taught me a lot of acceptance of the type of baseball player that I am, and not trying to be more, and really fully understanding who I am as a player. Good defense, hit left-handed pitching really well. Let's just focus on that, and that's what we did. And I think that makes you an adult, and it makes you a better professional. Is just accepting your role and the player you are.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you something you've had to unfortunately talk about countless times the last couple of years, and how it may have changed you off the field, but how you dealt with it on the field, and that was
Mhm.
that scary deal April a couple of years ago when Lucas Giolito, it was probably a two-seamer that ran up and in on you, and it hits you, in the mouth, and
Mhm.
you're down. Take us through, like, initially what you're thinking, and then how you overcame it.
Oh my goodness gracious. Oh no.
Yeah. I mean, I'll get down to the gruesome part. I remember I can still see it now. That big white ball coming at my face, and not it was kind of like a two seam up and in. I couldn't get away from it, so I saw it and it just hit me right in the chin. And I went down, and when I went down, I thought I was kind of suffocating because the bottom four teeth were pushed so far back in my mouth that my tongue couldn't lift up. It was almost like and I was talking like I had peanut butter stuck on my top of my mouth. I couldn't, like, when you talk, your tongue moves, but I couldn't move my tongue. I looked down and blood was all in the dirt, and it was bad. And so they carried me in to the training room, and I wasn't very emotional at all. I didn't cry or anything like that. Didn't go into shock. Just was in the training room, and they were trying to diagnose me. And I just told them, I said, "Guys, get me to a damn hospital. I mean, I'm swallowing my teeth right now. Let's get me to a hospital." Put me in an ambulance, and at the time, my wife and my kid McCoy, they were on a plane to New York because they were flying to New York to play the Yankees the next day. And as soon as they're taking off, Courtney sees me get hit. And so she's in the air for however long. And Mike Herman texts and says, "Hey, they're just going to keep you on the plane. When they land, just stay on the plane. They're going to fly you back to Minnesota." So she didn't have to get off, didn't have to bring her bags off. They just turned around and flew her back, and which was really cool. So I go into the hospital. I'm in the bed, and you're walking through the hospital, and people are giving you that look. They're kind of looking at you and then like looking down, trying to avoid you. And I'm still in my full uni, and my uni's soaked in blood. I'm like, dang, I must be hit pretty bad. And so I got my phone out. My trainer said, "Don't look at it." I was like, "No, I don't care." And I took that selfie, and it was ugly. It was really bad. And they took me to X-rays. Didn't break my jaw, which was nice. Just teeth came out, and they put me in surgery. And luckily, I was in Minnesota. It's like a big hockey injury too. They see that all the time in hockey. And so they shoved the teeth back in my mouth, my jawline, wired them shut, and then probably a month later, I had to get 4 root canals in the same teeth because everything was just pulled out. And so that was the whole process. And then getting back to baseball, I remember, I I wasn't scared at the time, but until someone asked me, like, "Hey, are you gonna be nervous about getting in the box?" I didn't think about it, and I called my dad. Me and my dad are really close, and I was like, "Dad, you think I'm gonna be worried about it?" He's like, "Man, God put you on this earth to play baseball. You're a baseball player. Get back in there and do what you're supposed to do, because you don't know how to do anything else." And I was like, "Sure."
Thanks, Dad.
So yeah, he's like, You're not good at anything else." And so I got back in there. I was fine. I remember got a hit my second at bat, and but now every time I get a ball up and in, it does shake my boots a little bit. But I go back to what I think: just get back in there, and if you hit you, it hits you, but just get back in there.
Yeah, you've always been, I admire tough guys, and you've gotten hit a lot in your career. I don't know where you're at. You're closing in on 100, I think, in your career. Am I right? Somewhere in that neighborhood,
Yeah.
which is a bunch. And my boys played college baseball, and they got hit a lot. And one of the things that they did, which I think I think it may even be required at some levels, but in the big leagues, you wear the flap now, and that's got to at least give you a little bit of, okay, if I get chased here, arm side, the likelihood, it's
Yeah.
not good, but the likelihood of you getting hit the way you did is probably less likely, right?
Yeah, for sure. It would have saved me if I had it. I didn't have it at the time,
Right.
and now I do wear it. But I think it would have definitely kept me from probably having surgery. So you live and learn. But I wish I had it then.
Yeah, good deal. Hey, you're playing next to a guy most days that you probably saw a little bit from afar, but your impressions
Mhm.
of a kid, Ezekiel Tovar.
Gosh, probably the most humbled and like slow heartbeat of a 22, 23-year-old that I've ever seen or witnessed. I mean, I'm sure you've heard it a lot, but there's not a moment too big for him. And if he gets out, he doesn't care. I mean, he cares, but like he doesn't like show emotion or anything like that, like a normal 22 or 23-year-old would do. I mean, I was a senior in college when I was 20. I was still drinking beer out of a keg when I was 23 at University of Georgia. So for him to be winning a Gold Glove, playing All-Star caliber shortstop, it's really impressive.
Yeah, we say a lot on the tube, Kyle, from literally, this goes back a couple years ago when he was 21. He literally comports
Mhm.
himself like he's 45. Always, he's like always right
Yeah.
here. Trader, no matter, he'd go for 4 for 4 with a couple bombs, or 0 for 4 with 3 punchies, and he's the same dude.
Yeah, it's crazy. I try and kid around with him, and he just is like a serious look all the time. I'm like, dude, show me those pearly whites you got, man. Yeah, I'm trying to get out there joke around with him, and he's serious and he's competitive, and I love it. I mean, he's gonna be good for a very, very, very long time, which is awesome.
All right, I want to take you back to high school for a moment because I was checking with you about this the other day. You were 2 sports star, right? I don't even know. Did you play hoops also?
No, I quit basketball in 4th grade when I scored the wrong goal.
That was it. Shut down. Okay, but you were an option
My dad
quarterback.
said, "Hey, let's shut that down." Yeah, ran the triple option. Yeah, it was a wishbone. It was grueling. Funny. My school Marist starts in 7th grade, and so I was a left guard and strong tackle. Sorry, left guard and strong corner in 7th grade. I was a thick old white boy, just eating mama's beignets and pancakes in the morning, and grits and cheese grits and bacon, and then. But after every practice, I would throw to receiver, and I had a cannon. I would bomb it, but like we didn't run the spread or anything like that. We just ran the wishbone. I was slow at the time, could never play quarterback. And then 8th grade comes around, and I started at quarterback. Um, but what's funny about high school football in Georgia is that if you don't focus on football, you're not going to play. So I was in highly competitive summer ball at East Cobb. I played for the East Cobb Yankees, and I missed all the football workouts in the summer. And so my coach, who was a Georgia legend, Alan Chadwick, he just didn't start me my junior year. Like I should have started because I missed all the summer workouts, which I get. I mean, but I had Ole Miss, Georgia, everybody looking at me for baseball, and but he was set on his ways. So my senior year rolls around. I didn't get a snap my junior year. Senior year rolls around. We get beat by our rival first game. We have a junior quarterback, and then second game he throws me in the second half, and we came back and won. And the rest is history. I started every game after that and took him to the state championship, but we lost. But Wishbone's a hard offense to run.
Yeah. But you had, obviously, as you said, you had a lot of success, and then there were some schools. Tell a story. You told me the other day there were some schools looking at you, including Princeton out of the Ivies. How would that have turned out, man?
The Princeton thing, yeah, that was um I didn't realize that I was that good at football until Princeton and Furman, and I had no business going to Princeton. This school would have kicked my butt.
Kicks a lot of people's butt, but you never get football like go, hey, you know what? Maybe I could be. It's crazy to try to play 2 sports, at the Division I level. But I mean, did the gears get going where you go, hey, maybe you go to Furman, play football in the fall, and flip over, no spring football practice, play baseball for Furman in the spring, or
No,
or you were SEC through and through
no, not at
baseball?
all. Uh, I was uh, I was too excited to play SEC baseball. That was the goal of mine. Ever growing up, ever since my dad played at Ole Miss, I always wanted to go to an SEC baseball school. Football was just kind of a hobby for me to hang around my high school friends and kind of have fun. I hated practice, but loved the games. And
Yeah,
football was just something I had fun with. Baseball
yeah.
was more serious.
Yeah. Do you play, and you'll get this having a football background. Do you think you play baseball with a football mentality?
Oh, for sure, 100%. Yes, I think. Yeah, our Georgia David Perno, who's our coach at Georgia, only recruited guys who played multiple sports and mainly football too, because he wants guys hard nosed, competitive. Won't back down from anything, and I think that's what football teaches you is, you gotta. I mean, you can't be scared to play football. You have to go out there and you got to hit them and kind of bring the punch to them. And also playing 2 sports also makes you more competitive and more athletic, I believe.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. All right, so tell me the Blind Side, which became a huge film and a great story, Michael Orr's story, and I know it's gotten controversial
Mhm.
last year or so, but you end up in that film. Take us through how that transpired.
So a funny story that no one really knows about that is that my mom was sorority sisters with Leanne Toohey at Ole Miss, which is kind of ironic that I was played in that movie. but it was filmed at a high school by my house, and all my buddies were extras in the movie. And I was at a party one night. They said, "Hey, we need a quarterback tomorrow. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And sure enough, I showed up, handed me the script, the playbook, and had to learn it all on the fly. And it was fun. It was really, I got respect for all the actors and actresses out there now. It's really hard to make a movie. A lot of patience.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, did you meet Michael Orr? Was he on the set or no?
He was not on the set. It was the stunt devil. The guy who's doing the action scenes was a old Buffalo Bills tackle, who I forgot the name of, and then the actor, I forgot his name, but he was there too.
Yeah. That's a
Because they had to
great
like
show.
they had to like switch them out. They had to switch them out. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. That's pretty neat stuff. In closing, one of the things that, as I watch you from, my perch in the booth and getting to know you a little bit, in the dugout on the field is you come across. I watch you in LA, and you did it seemed like a million different interviews because obviously your career began there. It seems like you're one of those guys that doesn't have a bad day, man. You're always upbeat when you get to the yard, and you're fun to be around. Has that always been your persona?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've learned over the time to like kind of split my life a little bit. When I'm home, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I have fun with the kids. But when I get to the ballpark, I don't know, it's something it's just, I don't know, my safe haven. It's kind of like I love it. It's so much fun, and getting to be on a big league field. I mean, I think once you realize that you have worked your whole life to get to the major leagues, and then you get on that field and you're taking batting practice, it's kind of surreal. I mean, I still think about it, and I wish everybody would take that into account. I think you see me more happy now because I know that I only have 2 or 3 years left on my timeline of playing baseball. So I'm trying to soak everything in, and I think that has taken the pressure off me a little bit. It's just enjoying everything because I mean, gosh, every year I get to play, it's 1 year closer to retirement, and I think knowing that I have 2 or 3 years left, I'm just trying to soak it all in and have fun with it.
Hey Kyle, since the old man said you can't do anything else, you just stay in the game. Do you think when those 2 or 3 years are
Mhm.
done?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely a lifer in baseball. I might take a year off and play with the kids and travel a little bit, but a lot of big name players said I'd be a really good manager. Like Carlos Correa said I'd be a really good manager. A lot of guys think that, I don't know. It's something that I've thought about. I've thought about broadcasting, thought about being in the booth, thought about managing. So yeah, I'm definitely a lifer, and I'll definitely think of stuff to do for sure in baseball. Because like I said, I don't know. I don't know how to do anything else.
Well, I can tell you this, keep playing as long as you can. You're doing great at that, and as long as you can stay in the game, you'll never work a day in your life. So it's a
That's
good
right.
game plan. It's a good game plan. Kyle, I appreciate it, and enjoy this extra day off, if you will. I'll see you for a couple of long ones Saturday and Sunday, but I really appreciate it, man. Continued success, my man.
Thank you. Appreciate it for having me. Thank you.
You bet. See you soon. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks once again formally to Kyle Farmer. Gets an extra day off of being a dad, and then the Rockies get after it in the cold on Saturday again as we tape. Good luck to the Denver Nuggets. They draw, excuse me, the LA Clippers in the first round. I like how they finished the season after the coaching change. We'll see if it carries forward. The defense has been better. Clippers will be an interesting matchup. But we're going to learn a lot in that first round about the postseason Nuggets post Malone, not the singer Post Malone, post Malone. So there you go. Somewhat busy week in the world of sports here regionally. We'll do it again in 7 days. Enjoy, everyone. Thanks for listening to our little podcast, and take care. Stay well. Talk soon.